Hey everybody, welcome to a conversation on Second Kings. We're in week 10. It's over. This is where it ends.
It doesn't really.
Again.
The country of Israel.
Again.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, it's funny is that that's a good. I mean, what a fun thing is that when something still exists, but all
The bear poops in the forest.
Doesn't that happen every 100-ish years? Everywhere?
it does happen, but think about it as an organization. I mean, we could make it close to home if all of us went on a trip and the plane went down.
I'd love
You would
You
love
love
that.
that
I would love to see what happens.
from up in heaven, just watching.
Yeah, from in heaven.
No, we're
From
surviving
heaven.
that. We are
We're
too
surviving
stubborn to die. Corner coffee, unmapped island.
Yeah,
That's
Unmapped
happening.
island.
It'd be fun.
Oh my!
Where'd you guys get the coffee?
Who are we going to eat first? You never know.
Oh man! Who are we gonna eat first? Oh, they're killing me, guys.
That's how it goes.
That's unfortunate.
Well, this again with
Yeah,
the
so
hard.
It's a good
Great.
start.
That's great.
We're
Second,
only a minute and a half in, and we did all that.
Let's wrap it up.
Oh man!
I do think that back to that question though, is that here was a moment where there was a bunch of geographic expectations of how to live. They were living in the promised land, and just to think about that culturally is that it's really hard when everything changes, everybody changes for truth, for reality to exist. It's not actually even part of I don't think what we're going to be focusing on, but I thought people.
The people are gone. This is where, I mean, isn't this kind of where Samaria, like the conflict between the Jewish people and Samaria, the Samaritans begins?
Yeah.
Like, they talk about that.
Because so we fast forward into the New Testament, and the Jews would, if they were going from the Sea of Galilee, the northern part of their land, is kind of like a barbell. I think it's kind of a good way to picture it, is that there was people lived in the north, people lived down in Jerusalem in the south, and to pass from north to south, they would have to pass through Samaria. And we see in the Gospels that it was unusual. Jesus did the unusual, not that it was unprecedented, but it was unusual to pass through Samaria. And Jesus has this moment where the disciples went into town to buy supplies, which probably also was unusual, not unprecedented, but unusual for Jews to go into a Samaritan village to buy supplies. Jesus is hanging by the well, and a woman approaches, and she has an interaction with Jesus, which blows her mind. That you're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan. Why are you even talking to me? And the root back to that degree of a divide was because those who were Samaritans were these people that some that were left behind, and most of them were people that moved in the vacuum of people leaving, being taken into exile. And it just kind of became this mush of belief. I don't know if that's right, but they had some Jewish background. They were part of they're Israelites. There's some remnant of that, but then for sure this massive outside group of people that did not know God or follow God were part of this. As you fast forward generations, they would say, they're not us.
Yeah.
They're not us.
Yeah. I think one thing that stood out to me, because we're talking about 2 Kings 17, one of the things that stood out to me in the middle of all the chaos and because in the beginning of it, we have this story of how Israel kind of dies again. And then, but like when the outside countries are coming in, or the outside believers, or not believers, but outside people are coming in, like over and over again, we see this idea of God sending people to teach others how to worship. And that's part of this story. I mean, we have to build to that, but I enjoy that because it's really, when you look at this story and then you see how Samaritans are treated in the New Testament, like you can understand how they got there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's yucky, but you can
Yep.
understand how it happened. But in this moment, this story, there's just this little tiny part where it just says they had to go and teach them how to worship Yahweh. And I think that
And it didn't go well.
it didn't go well. No, it didn't go well.
Yeah.
But I like that. That's constantly part of the stories.
It is part of the
that
story.
idea.
Yep. Yes. Text, and then we just did a survey. It'd be fun to talk about that a little bit. But basically, what's happening is that it's 2 Kings 17 zooms back into Israel, the northern kingdom, backing up to chapter 15. Assyria had invaded Israel, and the king, which was 3 kings ago in chapter 15, paid off Assyria with like a $30 million, it's 1,000 talents of silver. So it was this gigantic, he took a tax from all the people and then gave it all to Assyria in order to have this temporary peace. And so kind of on the theme of things being done in vain is that they paid this off and it fixed for a moment. Assyria went back at peace. Of course you're at peace. You just gave the gross national product in silver to us to just get us to leave. Then fast forward 2 chapters to chapter 17, 3 kings later. This is the 3rd king later. That king decides not to pay that tax to Assyria. And so Assyria shows up and takes that king, throws him into jail. And which then leads to this like exposure is like, why is this all happening? And very simple way to say, well, this is happening because they stopped paying off Assyria. But then 2 Kings 17 makes this declaration, this is happening because they've been unfaithful and walked away from God, which is like, that's a huge difference. You
Yeah.
should have paid Assyria. Actually, it's because you are not faithful to God. It says that they are secretly, which is such a huge word in this, secretly they are repeatedly turning from God and worshiping false gods. And then just it's kind of a punch in the gut declaration. There is because of their efforts, they have been worshiping worthless or in vain gods, and they themselves have become worthless or in vain. And NIV says worthless. It's really like in vain, so like without purpose.
Yeah.
Not accomplishing the intended purpose. So to say, so you've been worshiping gods, and that has not led to your intended purpose. And what that has led is that you have become just aimless or without purpose. And that didn't happen because of a moment. It was because of centuries of turning away from God. And so, anyway, we did an in vain quiz.
We did.
Anything stand up to you guys? So this was a list of 15 things that would probably be like rationally said efforts done in vain, and give it a score for what is our culture. How much effort does our culture give into doing these things, and how much effort do you put into doing these things? And so, what stood out?
I think at first, like when I did it at first, I was like kind of harsh on culture, on what like culture said. And then I was like, I know people, and that's not always, I mean, culture is like the bigger picture, but it was hard for me. It made me kind of step back and go, well, I'm saying that culture has all these things, but also maybe it's not as terrible as I think it is immediately, but
just like the first one, chasing wealth to find lasting security.
see, and I kind of I thought about that one a little bit, and I was like, I do think people are chasing wealth, but I don't always think they're thinking long term for like security. I think sometimes, like you hear over and over again, the topic of the current millennial, like not able to buy a house like somebody in the 80s could, or, something like that. And so it's like, are we chasing lasting security, or are we chasing the moment? Like I mean, maybe that's not the purpose of the question, but it did make me think about like, what are we Are we thinking long term, or are we thinking about right now as a culture?
It's a great question.
Sent everybody to silence. Sorry.
No, I think, and we are. I think it's easy to demonize the other always, but we are part of
Yeah.
that culture. So like, I think it's easy to start this and go, "Oh, I'm better," and
Yeah.
then you start to do it more, and you start to be more honest. And you go, "Oh, I'm just a part of this."
Yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very consistent in my perspective of culture. They're like, you know, 5s or 6s. And I was probably more generous to myself. But not, I definitely didn't have a whole bunch of 0s. I definitely
Yeah. Right.
that's where I think the heart of this quiz and really the heart of this whole conversation is that effort in vain is a complicated thing to quantify. Because are my efforts in vain? Well, give me 15 years and I'll tell you.
Right.
And that that's not that can be a real measure, but I don't necessarily want to always be going, 15 years ago self really messed that up, wasted a whole bunch of time, energy, and effort. Like that isn't helping me grow or
No.
improve. So I would love to have some insight, perspective, to quit wasting energy and effort, and not just like external, like internally, like burning inside for something that's pointless.
I know. I think there's some like early mistakes my husband and I made, like financially. And it is easy for me to go, oh gosh, why did we do that? Like we probably would have been in a much better place if we made some different choices around certain things.
If you bought that Microsoft stock,
If I would have bought the Microsoft stock. No, but other things. And it just makes me like, and Mike, my husband, can get, that can really bug him because he's a thinker. And so he can really get in there and it'll really bother him. But it's also like, okay, what are we going to do moving forward? Like, how do we learn from that? How do we do something new now? And like that mistake has already been done. Like we can't, there's a point where you go, oh, I'm thinking about that mistake over and over again. But it, like you said, it was 15 years ago. There's literally nothing that can be done to fix it. So how do we let that go? Okay. Like, yes, that happened. How do I shift my process moving forward? How do I think differently? How do I make it so it's not in vain? Like how do we, I don't know.
It's the declaration that your efforts are worthless or in vain is super personal.
Oh, I don't love it.
I
don't love it.
Like efficiency me would say, yes, how you really missed it.
Yeah.
Like those are not necessarily fighting words. Those are like shame.
I don't love it. I also don't love the fact that like you can put a lot of effort into something and not know that there's value in it or not. Like that's yucky.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's why a lot of pastors also paint houses.
I know. Yeah.
Do other things like that.
Just something to see
the progress.
Instant progress instead of it is raising kids. Like you're like, how do I make sure that, like, I don't know what's in 15 years. Oh, yuck.
A question we're going to ask is what causes somebody to push through high likelihood of meaningless effort? So
say that again.
What causes? That's maybe not the best wording of it. But what causes somebody to put a lot of effort into something that is likely meaningless?
Avoidance.
It's fun.
Hope.
What? Yuck. It's actually kind of gross because
it's kind of gross.
Because the thing that's gross in that is that hope is so stinking powerful, and it's something that is people need, but what is the cost of like you're taking this limited thing that you have, which is hope, and you're putting it in the wrong or an unlikely thing to pay off.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, hope is when it's self-focused. Hope for what I get, what I gain.
Yeah.
That or hope in something that, I don't know, isn't the right thing to put it in is very different. And I also think it's really worth putting effort into something that has no proof that
Yes.
it'll
Yep.
like that's what any relationship is.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
putting a hope into someone else or a connection.
Well,
If you're so scared of like wasting effort, then you won't do anything.
yes.
And then your entire life will be a wasted effort.
Yep. And that's, I mean,
And that's true.
yeah.
I don't like any of it.
So this is fast forwarding. I guess it's not really. It's the intro in this is that Jesus, he addresses this idea of meaninglessness when he says, uh, "Don't store up yourselves treasures that are here on earth. Store up yourselves treasures in heaven." And so this is. Uh, there's a lot of things you get stuck in that declaration. Don't store up treasures where moth and rust and thieves and all that things can destroy. But it's not a declaration that says that things here on earth have no value. It's this. There's very different between living paycheck to paycheck in things, and then this is a declaration of don't. This is about investing, saving, this degree of hope, this treasure, and so Jesus says, store up treasures that cannot be destroyed. So some of those things are love, forgiveness, relationship, but those things don't necessarily, like you said, Greg, don't necessarily always work out. I'm going to put all this effort into being forgiving because that cannot be stolen from me, except it can not go well.
Pretty sure
Pretty
the
sure.
real gift is the friends we made along the way.
The what was it? The friends what? We made it along the way.
It didn't pay off. Well, no, it did because the friends we made along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're viewing those things as it, like you said it, you said me. I was forgiving and it didn't, I forgave and it still cost me something.
Me.
Okay, that's a great picture into the entire perspective that it's actually about me and
Yeah.
what I get. And maybe that's not what it's really about.
Yeah. The a great skill set is to look at life energy, the things that you're putting effort into, and have a degree of discerning of going this is I'm going to put energy and effort into this because this will bring lasting eternal. That's eternal can be a buzzword, but eternal return. This is not just for naught.
Yeah.
Or that it's just a good thing.
Yeah.
Like uh I think you're really good at that. At the I don't know if this is gonna work, but it's a good thing, so I'm just gonna do it and commit to it. I think that
Hmm.
the world would be a better place if everybody stopped worrying about what return or what they get out of it and just said, "Hey, this is good,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna help." If they're doing something good in my neighborhood,
Yep.
I may not get anything from it, but it's a good thing, and I think it's worth the effort regardless.
The painful moment in 2 Kings 17. So this hasn't just happened overnight. There's been 220-ish years since Solomon and his turning point where the temple was shiny and new, and then all of a sudden you turn a couple pages in First Kings and he's turning to false gods. So it's been 200 plus years since that moment. And but here the people were worshiping false gods. They were worshiping star stuff. What's star stuff?
Boo astrology.
Yeah,
There we go.
Worshiping star stuff.
In 2 Kings 17, it says that even in this, that they were offering children as sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so, this is a situation turned to the max.
Mm-hmm.
But think of the moment, again, God is not going, oh, you guys really made me mad. But God is going, wow, you have, just so you know, your sacrifice of your children was worthless.
Ugh.
And Again, I think that would be
Oops.
like that in the most intense oops ever.
I know.
But the thing, like, hopefully that like cuts to my being is that, I don't want to have these moments where I just, hey, just so you know, that repeated decision, that repeated attitude, that repeated view of life and world, just so
Ugh.
you know, that cost you a lot and it was for nothing.
Ugh. Well, I think something we talked about on Tuesday a little bit was like how like I think growing up, and I know the Bible says it a couple times, how like we view these moments as like God being this jealous God and he wants us to only worship him and all these things, but like the worthless, like following these, like, and we also talked about child sacrifice quite a bit on Tuesday because I was kind of uncomfortable with it, but like, and like,
Take that, Jack and Grace.
oh man,
No, it's good.
yeah, I'm uncomfortable with it, kids, don't worry. um, but one of the things we talked about was how kids were like, children didn't always live.
Yeah.
And so like this idea of losing a kid wasn't the same maybe, but it also like makes kids more valuable because they're not always going to live. So it's like
Yeah.
you give up something so valuable to the gods that you think are going to do something, the gods of fertility. Like the goal was to like produce more children, and instead you're losing children and you're worshiping something that isn't there. It is a worthless god. And like, so it's like double down. Like you're not,
Yeah.
it's so worthless. And the goal is to have more kids. And in that, you're
Yeah.
losing kids.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's
just
so broken.
so broken.
Yep. And it's, a maybe a modern context of that is to say that, you want to have healthy family. And so in order and energy and effort to do that, you work to provide for your family. You work 150 hours.
Right. And then you lose.
And then you say, listen, I'm doing this for us.
Doing it for you.
Yeah, yeah. And that moment that you just go, oh, that effort might have been.
Mm-hmm.
This ask the question: what is the sting of finding out that your efforts are in vain? Like, how does that change your life? The thing that as I evaluate that is that this sting doesn't change me at all. Apparently, or definitely has the potential of me just completely ignoring. What is the sting? How does it change my actions? And again, it would. If you look at culture and me, It's very easy to say, "Oh, when I see it, I radically change," and culture doesn't get it. But I think that it's it's very easy to be unchanging, even when you see when something is in vain.
It seems like there's kind of an irony here that we look for things to accomplish that we can see, and those things are many times the things that are less impactful. It's the things, the long efforts that you may never see or rarely see the value of that actually are the more valuable. Just one example would be like these cathedrals that take 400 years to build. People in the first 350 years would never see them.
Yeah.
But you can throw up a mini in 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever.
Yep.
Which one is more lasting? And it's these people that invested in this 400-year process to build this same thing with our efforts. And we're like, oh, we just want to see progress. We just want to see something, grab a result. And grabbing that result is oftentimes something that is not really as valuable.
Yeah.
It's the long, slow burn that
Yeah.
not going away from these worship practices. These little adjustments. No, can't do that. But
Yeah.
you never see the result. It's just kind of hard.
For sure. And that unfortunately for me, doesn't need to take hundreds of years. It can be a day, something, an effort today. Like a simple one would be to say that, by going to sleep at a certain time is going to make my tomorrow better. Yeah, I don't know. In vain, in vain efforts.
Hmm.
So there was some type of promise from these false gods that would lead to a moment that would say that you sacrifice your children, and that was again found to be in vain. Jesus in Matthew chapter 11, he makes a declaration, and I think it's very easy to say, hey everybody, Jesus is great, turn to him, but like to let just choose. Am I going to put my energy into this? When Jesus says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you." Again, this is a call to do that. Learn from me, a call, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And so this could be a moment of just saying, like, the sting of everything else is so bad. Turn to Jesus. And I don't think that actually changes anything, but like to process what is it to have faith that giving efforts to come to Jesus is not in vain. Let people share about that, talk about that, for us to process that, and not just to be pushed into it. I think is such a healthy thing.
You got to wrap up, Rich?
No, I think that's the fun part is that walking towards Jesus is not in vain, even when we feel like it is. We get into a spot and we go, well, that failed. Yeah, then you know what not to do next time, but you did something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And every step is, it's not just perceived like importance, it's actual importance, even in the times where you go, that might not have worked, but you were doing something to get more
Yeah.
like Christ. So I think it's a good thing.
It's great.
I'll see you guys all next week.
Bye.